Hi everyone, welcome to my very first instructional video. My name is Keith Rieger. I've been playing drums since 1996-ish. I also dabble in guitar and piano, but primarily I'm a drummer. I've been paid to play once before, so technically you could call me a professional, although I prefer upper intermediate. So these are going to begin very basic, very simple stuff, and we're just going to build from there and see how far it goes. I'm doing these for my nephew, who is actually taking up the drums, but he lives a good distance from me, so I thought it'd be cool to kind of record some videos and show him. But of course, anyone who wants to take some knowledge from these, you're more than welcome. So the first thing I want to show you is posture. Now the way I'm sitting now, I have my back straight, and I have my thighs pretty much perpendicular to the floor, so that it's a straight shot down my calf to the pelvis. If you have them too high, too elevated, it's going to be kind of a pain. If you have them too low, it's going to be even worse. So try to adjust your throne so that your thigh is level. Sit up straight, keep your arms fluid. Doing a little bit of stretching before you play is always a good idea. Warm up is essential, and I'll probably get to some warm-ups later. That covers posture as far as I really care to get into it right now. Just keep an eye on your back mostly. You want your hi-hat to be pretty much level with your forearm, so that it's a real easy sort of really easy motion that way. If it's too high, again, too low. And I'll go into another video teaching you how to set up the hi-hat stand. This is, I hate to repeat myself, but just bear with me, it's my first video. This is going to be really basic stuff. You want your crash cymbals. I have two crash cymbals, a 16-inch and an 18-inch. I have my 16-inch on this side, 18-inch on this side, on left, 16, right, 18, just my own preference. I also have a 20-inch ride cymbal here. Crashes are for exclamation, ride cymbal for rhythm, so you're like... Again, basic stuff, and that is just FYI, a choke, which is something that is kind of an intermediate maneuver, but I'm going to go over stuff as it comes up. Really helpful to learn to be able to do that. I also have a really small 8-inch splash cymbal, just for fun. My good friend Rob bought me that when I got this kit. It was his contribution. So beyond that, this is a kind of a kit that most beginning drummers aren't too familiar with, and I think my camera angle isn't the best, but typically you have a riding tom here, so one on the left, one on the right, and then you'll have a floor tom down here. I just have one tom on the left, and then I have two floor toms. So I have the really high tom, and then the two really cool low floor toms. And as you can tell, my ride cymbal is just a little too close. You shouldn't be hitting your cymbal when you're not trying to. And then we get to the two stars of the show as far as drums are concerned, in my opinion. We have the bass drum, that's the one you play with your feet. I have a double bass pedal because I love double bass. Not great at it. I'm not like a metal drummer, or particularly not a death metal drummer, but I had to throw in some accents with the double bass, like... That's pretty fun stuff. And then finally, my favorite drum. I don't know why I have a favorite, but I do. It's a snare drum. Very important, and I will definitely do a video on this, is how you set up your snare, because that's the drum that people are going to hear more than anything. So you want to make sure that is crisp and clear, and we'll get to that. So the last thing I'm going to show you on this first lesson is how to count. I know what you're saying, Keith, I already know how to count. What do you take me for, some kind of dumbass? Well, I assume you know how to count, but counting for drums is a lot easier. And it's something that is so essential that I'm going to take some time to show you that before I show you your first beat. The whining in the background is my dog Sky. She's real cute, but she's a diva. But back to where I was. So counting for drumming, whenever you hear a rock drummer start a song, you hear them go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's just them counting everyone in so we all start together, and ideally we're all on the same page. And what they're doing is they're counting a measure. I'm not going to get too much into music theory, at least not yet, but what a measure is just that separation. It's just 4 counts when you're in 4/4 time. So what I'm going to teach you beyond that is how to count the eighth notes, which, if you're not great with fractions, that just means you're cutting the quarter notes in half. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and no matter what you're playing, you keep that going in your mind when you're playing 4/4 time. Even if you're just playing the quarter notes, you still count the eighth notes. So it becomes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... You don't have to count it out loud, just keep it in your mind, otherwise people might look at you funny. Of course, who cares if they do? You're a drummer. You're better than them. Just kidding. That's the beat I want you to start with, incidentally. Start on your hi-hat, which is over here, as we went over. You're going to probably want to keep your foot down on the pedal, keep it closed, just so you can keep things tight and hear very clearly what you're doing. So you're starting with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and play it as slow as you need to. Find yourself a metronome. You can download them for free online. Really easy to find. You can put them on your phone through your headphones. And you just count off. You set it to start with maybe 60 beats per minute, which would be about 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... I might have been way off on the time signature, but it's a lot slower than what you would hear typically in like rock music. If you can play it slow, then you start building up your speed. That gives you accuracy. So we start with the hi-hat, and next I want you to bring in the bass drum. You're going to play the bass drum, which is that guy down there, on the 1s and the 3s. And this is where it starts to get a little tricky. Don't get frustrated. It takes time. This is coordination. This is limb independence, a hand and foot, a lot of things going on. So just because it looks easy to me doesn't mean that it's easy. My wife just laughed at me. Okay, so that's hi-hat on the 1, 2, 3, 4, bass on the 1s and 3s. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Alright, so once you have sort of gotten a handle on that, and again, take your time. There's no time limit on how long it takes to learn drums, or anything really. So then you add the snare drum on the 2s and the 4s. So if we cut out the hi-hat just for now, it's going to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And something important for when you start to play the snare drum, I'm using matched grip. You can learn traditional if you want, I don't use it. Just keep the sticks sort of in your palms, keep everything lined up, your thumb and your index fingers on the sides like this. Find a good like fulcrum point, which is just a balance point, so that when we get to more complex stuff like that, it'll be easier for you. But for now, just remember posture. Keep your hands like this, just nice and even, palms down, and just like I was saying, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... When you're comfortable with that, bring that hi-hat back in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then when you get to the point where you can do a little bit faster, just to give you an idea how it's gonna sound. Really basic, but if you can master that, you've got a good start. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a subscribe, give me a like, all that standard YouTube stuff that I don't really care about too much. Just keep learning. If you're not learning drums, learn something. It's an amazing feeling. Peace.